My name is Rachel Torres. I'm 36, live in Brooklyn, and for the last 9 years, I've worked as a vice president at an investment firm on Park Avenue. My mornings are a blur of routines: espresso brewed in my tiny kitchen, suit jacket steamed while I go over numbers in my head, emails checked before I even finish brushing my teeth. That morning felt like any other. I remember standing by the window, holding my coffee in both hands, trying to shake off the faint pressure behind my eyes. I told myself it was just tension, too many late nights, too many back-to-back meetings, too much caffeine, and not enough sleep. I had a big pitch at 10, the Peterson account. It had taken months to secure that meeting, and I'd poured everything into preparing for it. As I walked out the door, heels clicking down the hallway, I didn't feel nervous exactly, just stretched thin, like a rubber band pulled taut. The subway was packed. I didn't mind. I liked the quiet chaos of New York in the morning. Everyone buried in their own little worlds, earbuds in, coffee cups cradled like survival kits. I listened to a client podcast and made mental notes about the talking points I wanted to hit. When I finally stepped into my car parked on 8th and 32nd, I was 5 minutes behind schedule, but still fine. The sun was already high, reflecting off the glass buildings like they were polished steel. Traffic was thick, but familiar. I remember resting my hand on the gear shift, thinking I'd just make it in time. Then the light turned green. That's when it started. At first, I thought I was just dizzy. Maybe I hadn't eaten enough. But the blur came fast, like someone smeared the windshield from inside my brain. I blinked, gripped the wheel tighter, tried to focus. The buildings in front of me wavered, like heat waves off asphalt. My arms felt wrong, weak, almost hollow. I whispered to myself, I can't miss this meeting, but my mouth barely formed the words. The horn from a car behind me broke through the fog. I tried to move, to lift my foot off the brake, but everything in my body stopped listening. Then I felt the car drift, just slightly, but enough. I saw headlights coming toward me, fast, blinding. Someone shouted something nearby, but it sounded like it came through water. My vision narrowed. I felt a strange weightlessness, like my body wasn't mine anymore, like I was floating inside it, watching from somewhere else. The last thought I had before it all went black wasn't about my health. It wasn't fear or even pain. It was about that meeting. Don't let Kim mess up the pitch. And then, nothing. If you asked my family to describe me, I think they'd say I'm dependable. Not loving, not thoughtful, just dependable. The one who shows up with answers. The one who never says no. My mom, Cynthia, is the kind of woman who always believed life would eventually work itself out, as long as someone else did the heavy lifting. My dad, Frank, used to work construction until his back gave out. He says he's retired now, but really, he just stopped trying. My sister Lily is 7 years younger than me, bright, funny, effortlessly charming. People adored her growing up. They still do. I was the serious one, the quiet one, the one who made spreadsheets for my allowance and got my homework done early. Nobody cheered at my report cards, but if Lily drew a picture of a cat with no ears, it went on the fridge for months. I started helping with money the moment I got my first real job. At 22, I was making $42,000 a year and sending home $200 every month. Mom said it helped with groceries. It made me feel useful, responsible. Then came the bigger asks. When Lily got into a private college she couldn't afford, I co-signed the loans. When she graduated, unemployed and already behind on payments, I took over the full balance, $43,000. No one ever asked me if I could handle it. It was just assumed. I paid off their mortgage a few years later, quietly. The house was going into default, and Mom called me in tears. I made a wire transfer that afternoon and told her to relax. She thanked me and then asked if I could increase the monthly stipend since winter heating bills were higher that year. Every Christmas I sent money. Every birthday I sent gifts. I covered new appliances, emergency dental bills, car repairs, even Lily's therapy sessions when she went through a breakup and couldn't afford her copay. The first time I noticed the pattern, it was Thanksgiving. Lily had just gone through a breakup and was struggling with rent. I wired her $50,000, part of the bonus I got for landing a high-profile client. I remember hitting send on the transfer while still at the airport. I showed up to the house with pies and a bottle of wine, hoping, just a little, that maybe someone would say something, that maybe it would feel like I'd done something big, something meaningful. Instead, my mom handed me a dish towel and said the stuffing still needed stirring. Lily hugged me briefly, said thanks, Rach. You're literally the best sister ever, and went back to filming a video for her Instagram story. Later that night, she opened a box with a pair of designer shoes I had bought her. She squealed, kissed the air toward me, and said I always know what she needs. But it didn't feel like love. It felt like routine, like tipping a concierge. No one ever asked how I was doing. There were months I could barely breathe under the pressure. Days when I worked 14 hours and still lay awake, wondering if I'd sent the mortgage money on time, if Dad's pills had been covered, if Lily was using my card again for some yoga app she forgot to cancel. I told myself that's what family does. We carry each other. But at some point, I noticed something. They never carried me. I got the flu one winter and missed work for a week. Nobody called. When I had a breakup so bad I couldn't eat for 3 days. I texted Lily and told her I was heartbroken. She replied with a meme. I think it was meant to be funny. But I stared at it for 10 minutes and felt nothing. They needed me, always, but never seemed to notice when I needed anything in return. I became the family ATM, the problem solver, the silent support beam no one ever asked if they were cracking under pressure. They just leaned harder. I kept giving, because love, I thought, is something you prove, over and over, quietly, without expecting anything back. But deep down, I think I always knew. I wasn't giving from abundance. I was giving out of fear. Fear that if I stopped, there would be no place left for me in the family at all. They didn't love me for who I was. They loved the version of me that solved their problems. That realization didn't come all at once. It was like water dripping on stone, slowly, steadily, until something inside me finally cracked. I didn't know it yet, but the day that crack split open was already on its way. The first thing I felt was the tube in my throat, then the pain. It wasn't sharp. It was dull and pressing, like my whole body had been flattened and reassembled. I opened my eyes slowly. The light above me was too bright, and for a moment I thought I was dreaming. There was a beeping sound, steady and rhythmic. My mouth was dry. My neck wouldn't move. I tried to lift my hand and couldn't. A slow panic crept in as I realized nothing responded the way it should. Then I saw David. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His shirt was wrinkled, his eyes red. He leaned over me with a kind of relief that didn't match the way I felt. I wanted to ask what happened, but the words caught somewhere between my chest and the oxygen mask. He squeezed my hand gently. You're okay. You're gonna be okay. He kept saying it like a lullaby. His voice cracked near the end. That scared me more than anything else. Memories started to return. A green light, a blur, headlights, my car drifting without me. My heart pounded in my ears. I wanted to speak, to scream, to move. I barely managed a whisper. How long he looked away, then back. 18 hours, he said. You lost consciousness at the wheel. You drifted into oncoming traffic. Another driver hit the brakes just in time, but your car flipped. I didn't know how to take that in. I looked down, saw the cast on my leg, the IV line, the bruises that painted my skin. Then I asked him the only question that made sense. Did you call them? He didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened. His eyes went distant, like he was choosing his words too carefully. Yeah, the police reached out to your mom. Something in his voice changed. Flat, controlled. I waited. They had just boarded a cruise. Caribbean. Your mom told the officer, and I quote, "It's kind of a relief to have the freeloader off our plate for a week." My breath caught, not because of the pain, not even because of the words, but because a part of me wasn't surprised. David was still holding my hand. His grip tightened like he could somehow pull me back from what I was feeling. I stared at the ceiling. It wasn't spinning anymore. Everything was still. Too still. The kind of still that comes when something breaks and no one moves to pick it up. I didn't cry. Not right away. I think my body was still trying to protect me, but inside, a coldness settled, quiet, heavy, familiar. He whispered my name again, told me I was safe, that I wasn't alone. But I was not in the room, but in the places that mattered, in the corners of love I had poured myself into. I had crashed. They had gone sailing. And suddenly, I understood something I had never wanted to know. The morphine made time feel slippery. Minutes stretched into hours, and the ceiling above me didn't change. I was awake, but not fully there, somewhere between sleep and memory. David had stepped out to speak with the nurse. I reached for my phone, moving slowly, every part of me aching. Notifications blinked across the screen like static. Emails, missed calls. Then I saw it. Instagram? I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. There they were. My mother in her blue sun hat, my dad with his sunglasses crooked, and Lily in a swimsuit that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. All of them smiling wide on the cruise deck, arms around each other, frozen in a moment of perfect, easy joy. The sky was clear behind them, the water endless. They held up drinks, piña coladas, my mother's favorite. The caption read, "Family time is everything, so grateful." I stared at the screen, not for seconds, for minutes. They were smiling, on the same day I almost died. On the same day doctors had to cut me from a crushed car and carry me into an ambulance. They didn't just go on the cruise. They celebrated it, publicly, joyfully, as if I had never existed. A tightness spread across my chest, sharper than any pain in my leg. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I scrolled through the comments. People wrote things like, "You're such a close family and this looks amazing." I wanted to scream, but there was no energy left for screaming. I looked at that photo again. Their smiles didn't have a trace of concern, not even a hollow space where I should have been. And just like that, something inside me shifted. All these years, I had believed I was part of that family. Even when they took from me, even when they forgot me, I still thought I belonged. But now I saw the truth. I wasn't missing from the picture. I was never in it to begin with. I locked the screen and let the phone fall to the blanket beside me. My body was broken, yes, but that was healing. What had just broken was older, deeper, and for the first time, I didn't want to fix it. The next morning, I sat up in bed as far as the brace would let me. My body ached in new ways, but I was alert, clear, like something had been burned out of me in the crash, and what remained was sharper. David walked in carrying a briefcase. His eyes scanned my face, searching for hesitation. There was none. I told him to bring me every document, every account, every password, every record of anything tied to my family's finances. He opened the case without a word and laid the files across the tray table. The first was the mortgage. I glanced at the payment schedule, then nodded. Cancel it. His pen moved. One tie cut. Then the checking account that both my parents accessed. I remembered how Mom once bought an air fryer with it and joked that it was from the gods. Close it, I said. He didn't look up. Neither did I. Lily's credit card. The one I'd set up to help her build credit. I hadn't seen a thank you in years. Only charges for weekend flights and delivery apps. I pointed at the form. Terminate it. With every instruction, I felt something inside me unlock, quietly, without drama, like loosening a tight knot that had lived in my chest for years. David asked me if I was sure. His voice was careful, but my answer was steady. This isn't revenge. This is maintenance. This is self-respect. He handed me another folder, their cell phone plan. I had forgotten I was paying for that too. Cut it. I said it so simply. Even I was surprised by the calm. We moved down the list. Monthly transfers, medical bills, auto insurance. Every time I gave the word, something inside me grew lighter. The room didn't feel like a hospital anymore. It felt like a place of reckoning. David's hand rested on mine as he finished the last form. I looked at him, my voice soft but final. Submit everything today. I'm not waiting another moment. He nodded, eyes wet but proud. I leaned back against the pillow, exhausted but whole. For the first time, I wasn't giving. I wasn't explaining. I wasn't justifying my choices to anyone. I was reclaiming what had always been mine, the right to stop, the right to be more than useful. That was the day I stopped being their safety net and started being my own. The afternoon light filtered through the hospital window, casting long, soft shadows across the floor. I had just finished reviewing the last of the financial documents with David when my phone buzzed. I didn't recognize the number at first. Then I saw the contact photo. It was my mother. I opened the message without thinking. Her words blinked across the screen, cheerful and breezy. "The cruise is amazing. Lily's having the time of her life. Are you feeling better?" That was it. No mention of the accident, no concern, just a postcard tone and a hollow question at the end, like she was asking if I'd enjoyed a weekend nap. My chest didn't tighten. My breath didn't catch. I just felt quiet. I stared at the screen for a long time. Let her words hang in the air like a room freshener sprayed over something rotting. And I understood then. They didn't see me. Not as a daughter, not as a person, only as a pipeline. There had never been a relationship, only a transaction. I thought I might cry. I didn't. The tears were long gone. All that remained now was something still and sharp, something final. I typed one sentence, just one. "I'm just a freeloader, remember?" Then I locked the phone and placed it face down on the tray beside me. There was nothing left to explain, nothing left to fight for. They had sent their message, and now I had sent mine. It was a Tuesday afternoon, 5 days after I had cut all financial ties to my family. David walked into my hospital room with his laptop in one hand and a strange look on his face. It wasn't worry. It was something more contained, like a lawyer measuring his words before a deposition. He sat beside me, opened the laptop, and spoke carefully. "I just got off the phone with someone from the firm. They were served with paperwork regarding you." My pulse didn't change. I waited. "It's a conservatorship petition, filed by Lily. She's claiming you suffered a traumatic brain injury during the accident, and that your recent decisions show you're no longer fit to manage your finances." I blinked, once, then let my head fall slightly to the side so I could really look at him. "You're serious?" He nodded. "So let me get this straight. I almost die. Wake up. Cut off the gravy train. And now my little sister wants to legally take over my bank account." David didn't laugh. He was watching my face too closely. I don't think he trusted what he saw there. I smiled. Not the kind you give when you're amused. The kind you give when the last puzzle piece slides into place. "Make it expensive," I said. "And I want a countersuit, harassment, defamation, abusive legal process. Pick your favorite." He paused. "Are you sure you want to escalate?" I raised an eyebrow. She filed for conservatorship because I stopped paying for her lifestyle. "I'm not escalating. I'm responding." David nodded slowly. "All right, we'll go full defense." "And offense," I added. There was a long silence as he typed. The only sound in the room was the low hum of machines behind me. I closed my eyes for a moment, not out of fatigue, but something colder, something clean. My sister had always played dumb, soft-spoken, lost. But now I saw her for what she really was, a parasite with paperwork. When David finished, he looked at me again. "You're really calm." I opened my eyes and met his gaze. That's what happens when the shock burns off and all you're left with is clarity. He smiled at that, faintly, almost with pride. The next morning, my phone buzzed. Another call from my father. I let it ring. On the third attempt, I picked up. He launched right into it. "Your mother just got a call from the bank. Something's wrong with the mortgage account, and Lily's trying to reach you but says you've been unresponsive. Are you okay?" I didn't answer right away. He filled the silence. "We're confused, Rachel. Everything seems to be freezing up. Can you take a look?" I said nothing. He asked again, a little more firmly. "Can you please tell us what's going on?" I kept my voice level. "Maybe ask Lily. She's filing to become my legal guardian. After all, she must have a plan." He was quiet for several seconds, then asked what I meant. I let the pause stretch long enough to make it sting. She's trying to prove I'm not capable of handling my own life. Because apparently, not bankrolling 3 adults anymore means I've lost my mind. His voice cracked. That can't be right. She said she was worried about your recovery. Right. That must be why she's requesting access to all my accounts and assets. Out of concern. I hung up before he could say another word. David walked in just as I set the phone down. I told him what happened. He didn't look surprised, just nodded. I asked if he thought any judge would entertain Lily's claim. He shook his head. Not a chance. The doctor's reports alone will end it before it begins. I looked out the window. The city moved like nothing had happened. People walking, cars passing, a world that kept turning. They tried to own my recovery. Now they'll watch me walk out of here on my own 2 feet. And if they want to test me in court, I'll make sure they pay for the lesson. I didn't want to open the door, not after everything, but David looked at me with that quiet steadiness he always has and said, "They deserve to hear it from you, not lawyers, not voicemail. You?" So I agreed. We sat in the living room. I didn't offer them drinks. I didn't ask how the drive was. I just waited. My mother's eyes were puffy. My father looked smaller than I remembered. Lily wouldn't meet my gaze. I let the silence stretch until it became unbearable. Then I spoke. "Tell me, Lily, how much did you make last year?" She blinked like I'd asked something in another language. I repeated it, slowly. "Your total income last year. What was it?" Her voice was barely there. 4,000, maybe 4,200. And the year before that? She didn't answer. I turned to my parents. "Did you know that? Did you know I've been paying your mortgage for the last 15 years? My mother's lip trembled. My father swallowed hard. I asked again. "Did you know?" No one spoke. I leaned back in my chair, folding my arms. You thought she was the one supporting the household, the daughter with the big career, the one who climbed the ladder and looked after everyone. I paused. "And you called me the freeloader." My father shook his head slowly. "We didn't know," she said. I cut him off. "She said a lot of things. And you believed them all because they made it easier to overlook me. I was just the bank account you didn't have to thank." My mother's voice cracked. "Rachel, we didn't mean." I raised a hand. "No apologies. Just own it." Lily finally looked up. Tears ran down her cheeks. "I was jealous," she said. "You were everything I wanted to be. I couldn't stand how perfect you were, so I told them you weren't." I nodded once, quietly. "That's the first honest thing you've said in years." They sat there, eyes wide, silence heavy. "You didn't just lie. You built a whole version of me to tear down. And they helped you because it was easier than asking questions." My mother reached toward me. I moved back. "I'm not angry anymore. I'm awake. And nothing you say can make me unsee what I know now." The truth didn't need shouting. It was sitting in the room, finally, taking up all the space. I turned toward my parents and looked them both in the eye. After everything, I just wanted to hear it from them. Why did you believe her all those years? All the stories? Why? My father shifted in his seat. He glanced at my mother, then down at the floor. "I don't know," he said. "We just thought maybe you weren't doing that well. You never talked about your job." I took a breath. "I work at Brighton Capital. I'm a vice president in corporate investments. My salary last year was $410,000. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father looked like he'd forgotten how to sit. "For 15 years, I paid your mortgage. I paid off Lily's loans. I covered your credit cards, your insurance, your groceries. And I did it quietly. I never asked for thanks." They just sat there. I could feel the weight of what had finally landed. I told the truth, and it broke something. Lily stood up. She took a step forward. Her voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was selfish. But please, can you forgive me?" I looked at her. Then I looked at the 2 people who had raised me. It was strange how light I felt, like my body had been carrying a weight I no longer noticed until it slipped off. "No," I said softly. "I can't." Lily dropped to her knees. She was crying now, but I felt nothing. "I don't hate you," I said. "I'm not angry. I'm just done." I turned to David. He understood without a word. "It's time for everyone to go now," he said quietly. They left in silence, not with slammed doors or shouting, just the sound of shoes across hardwood and a quiet click at the end. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I exhaled, slow and deep, and realized I had never felt more free. After they left, the house felt still in a way I hadn't known before. Not empty, not sad, just still. I started noticing things again. The sound of the wind against the window, the scent of lavender from the oil diffuser David always kept by the kitchen, the way my shoulders dropped when I wasn't bracing for the next message or demand. Weeks passed, then months. My phone stayed quiet. No guilt-tripping texts, no voicemails about overdue bills or Lily's job hunt. The silence was the kind that healed. For the first time in years, I started thinking about what I wanted, not what others needed. I had time. I had energy. So one afternoon, I opened my laptop and started to write. The blog was called Blood Isn't a Bond. It was a simple site, just me and my words. I wrote about growing up as the strong one, about the Thanksgiving where I wired Lily $50,000 while she posted pictures of new designer boots, about what it meant to wake up in a hospital and realize your family chose a cruise over your life. People started reading. They wrote back, long messages, short ones. All of them echoed the same ache. I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only one. Your story gave me courage. Some posts were about money. Some were about guilt. Most were about letting go. Within 3 months, a small publisher reached out, then a bigger one. By the 6th month, I was invited to speak at a women's leadership summit. I stood on stage in front of 500 people and said the words I'd once whispered in the dark. You are not selfish for walking away from harm. David came with me to every event, sat in the front row, held my hand backstage, listened when I practiced stories I wasn't sure I was ready to tell. One morning, I found a letter in the mailbox. The handwriting was my mother's. It was thick, probably filled with apologies. I didn't open it. I placed it on the dining table, sat down, and stared at it for a long time. Then I picked it up and dropped it in the trash. I didn't feel angry or vindicated. I just felt done. The Rachel who might have read that letter no longer existed. Later that night, David made tea and sat across from me. He asked if I ever thought about writing full-time. I laughed. Then I said maybe. Maybe I already was. He looked around the living room, at the candles, the neatness, the quiet peace that had replaced the storm. I think your story is changing lives, he said. I looked at him and smiled. This is the family I've chosen. And for the first time, I slept not because I was exhausted, but because I was free.